I recently put a poll out on social media on my Instagram stories asking my followers what was the biggest thing that they struggled with when it came to their health and fitness. And the answer was unanimous. Every single person that voted on that poll all voted for nutrition. So over the last 15 years, I've been in a very fortunate position to work with hundreds and hundreds of different clients, helping them achieve all kinds of results. But one of the standout points in my career is how most people come to me confused about nutrition. And one of the things that I take great pride in helping them with is replacing that confusion with clarity. And that is what I'm going to do for you today. So if you're confused about nutrition and you need some support, this video is for you. So we're going to get into the video. So before I get going, guys, if you're not already subscribed to me on YouTube, please drop me a subscribe. If you're not following me on Instagram, head over to Instagram and drop me a follow. And if you need any further support from me, I offer a free 7-day fat loss course. The link is in the bio for this video. Right, let's get into it. So perfect nutrition, as it says on the screen, is a myth. Now, just for a bit of a disclaimer, if you're watching this and you're unlikely, but if you're a Premier League footballer, if you're competing in the Olympics next year, then this might not apply to you because the stakes are really high and that 0.5% really matters. For most normal people, so people like myself, people like all my clients that are trying to get decent results but have got a life, job, kids, all that kind of stuff, perfection is not needed. Absolutely not needed. You don't need a perfect diet, okay? The 80-20 rule is good enough for 99% of people. And that essentially means 80% nutritious food, 20% flexibility. Or you could look at it in a different way. We need to be good 80% of the time, or have our nutrition in check 80% of the time. 20% of the time, we don't need to worry about it. That is good enough for most people to get good results. And to be honest, that is a rule that I go by with almost all of my coaching. I have a saying, you can't live and die on any given day. You can't succeed or fail on any given day. So we have a bad day, it doesn't write off the rest of the week. We have a bad week, doesn't write off the rest of the month. And if we have a bad month, it doesn't write off the rest of the year. 52 weeks in a year, we don't need them all to be good ones, okay? So the 80-20 rule, not just for nutrition, being completely honest, is a great rule to go by. So 80% nutrition food, 20% flexibility, no guilt or restrictions. You shouldn't have to cut anything out completely. And as I said, that works for 99% of people, unless you're a high-level athlete, Premier League footballer. And then, unfortunately, that 1% does matter for those people. Okay, so the real problem isn't knowledge. Now, obviously, we live in a 2025 when I'm at the time of recording this video. Knowledge is everywhere. We can get the knowledge for nutrition, for meal plans, for what fits with your calorie target, all that kind of stuff. Okay, the problem is decision fatigue. Okay, so a lot of you watching this video now will be like many of my clients. You probably got a busy job. You might have kids or a busy home life. You're making decisions almost every minute of the day. You're making decisions. What you don't want to be doing is having to make decisions about food every day as well. We need to simplify this. We need to remove the decision fatigue. Okay, too many choices overwhelm us, and that's the same with nutrition as well. If we've got like 20 different evening meal options or 20 different lunch options, you're going to get frustrated and confused by it, and eventually you're going to say sod it, and you end up going for the cookies. Okay, so as we can see here, so too many choices overwhelm us, constant food decisions drain energy, and inconsistency kills progress. Complexity leads to giving up. So the overview of these points here is we need to make things more simple, okay, with our nutrition. So that's the first major point, really. We need to make things more simple. So most people know what's healthy and what's not. Most people know the difference between a chocolate chip cookie and an apple. One's got more calories than the other, or one's got more nutritious value than the other. Most people know we can't live off chocolate chip cookies and apples are going to be far better for us. So most people know the basics, right? But they struggle with making it simple enough to follow. So the next thing I want to talk to you is about a trait that I've noticed with lots of successful people. And this doesn't just relate to nutrition, it relates to lots of things such as the clothes they wear each day, whereas they repeat things on a regular basis. And again, this all comes down to decision fatigue. So they don't have to decide what they're going to wear every day for work. They wear the same thing every day, and it's just one less decision they have to make. And that's the same with nutrition. So a lot of successful people repeat meals every day, particularly breakfast and lunchtime meals. Now, the kickback I get from this sometimes is I don't want to eat the same food every day. But if I was to ask you what your favorite breakfasts were, I'd almost guarantee that you probably only list 2 or 3 max. It's not like you've got 20 different breakfast ideas. So people say they don't want things to be too rigid and they want full flexibility, which I understand. But the reality is you probably don't eat 20 different types of breakfast anyway. So as I say, a lot of successful people will eat the same foods every day. So when it comes to breakfast, pick 2 or 3 different breakfast options and rotate between your favorites. Then you have no morning decisions needed. You know what you're going to have. You can prepare for them in advance, and it just makes things simple. So easy ones for this are overnight oats, eggs on toast, Greek yogurt with berries. Obviously your oats and your Greek yogurt with berries you can do the night before. Eggs on toast, really quick to do in the morning. Simple, easy breakfast. Remove decision fatigue. Lunch is very similar. As I said, lunch and breakfast are the ones that you can repeat regularly, and I'd advise you do repeat them regularly. So lunches, we can batch cook these. So Sunday is a very good day for doing this, and generally I do this up until a Thursday. So I have all my lunches up until Thursday done, and then on Thursday I'll just cook Fridays, and then weekend I cook them as I go because I'm at home. So we choose again between 2 or 3 lunchtime recipes. Again, things that are easy to take to work with you. So skipping ahead a little bit here. So chicken salad bowls, soup, rice and protein, whatever you like, something that you can batch cook on a Sunday, put them in Tupperware tubs, keep them in the fridge, then each day when you go to work, you just take them with you. So batch cook on Sunday, store in the fridge, grab and go all week. Okay, so that's your lunches, nice and simple. Then when it comes to evening meals, now most people want a bit more flexibility with evening meals, and I agree, and I think that's a good idea. If we're keeping breakfast and lunch pretty similar most days, because let's face it, as I've already said, most people don't have 20 different options they want for lunch and breakfast. Evening meals, we can have a bit more variety. So this is where we can use recipes, so either recipe books or use AI nowadays to get recipes from. So include family favorites. So a lot of the time, evening meals you'll be eating with your partner, you'll be eating with the kids, so it needs to be foods that they like. Keep prep time to 30 minutes. And if you're using AI to get recipes, ChatGPT, you can stipulate that in there. I don't want any more than 30 minutes cooking time. Focus on whole foods, okay? Proteins, carbohydrates, lots of vegetables, okay? So this is where you can be more creative while still staying within your calorie target. Okay, so calories matter for your goal. So this is, a lot of the work I do is around fat loss, but this particular slide, it depends on whatever goal you have. It's applicable to whatever goal you have. Okay, so calories matter for your goal. So whatever calories you're consuming, that will reflect your goal. So if your goal is to lose body fat and body weight, which I imagine a lot of the people watching this video will be, we need to be in a deficit. So we need to be eating less calories than we're burning. Maintenance, it's a calorie balance. We need to be eating about the same amount that we're burning. And if we're trying to gain muscle, a calorie surplus. So we need to be in a slight surplus, essentially gaining a little bit of weight. Performance, depends on the performance, depends on the level, depends on the energy output. This could be maintenance. It could be a slight surplus. Okay, so if you're unsure on how many calories you should be consuming, then I have a specific training for this on YouTube. So go ahead and look at my other videos. You'll find that, or sign up to the 7-day free program that I offer, link in the bio, and there's a video on there helping you work out what calories you need. So simple wins. And again, as I said right at the start of this video, nutrition needs to be simple. Okay, we need to make this as simple and easy as possible. So this is all you need to focus on essentially here. So calories first. We need to work out how many calories we need for our goal. That's most important, because without that, we're not going to achieve our goal. Consistent, simple meals, as I've already said, making sure we're keeping lunch and breakfast fairly similar, a bit more variety on evening meal. 80-20 flex rule, okay? So it doesn't have to be perfect all the time. We can have the occasional treats. And remove daily decision fatigue, which I've already been through. Okay, so your action plan: choose 2 to 3 breakfasts, 2 to 3 lunchtime recipes, and batch cook those. Plan simple dinners for the week. Calculate your calorie needs, and remember the 80-20 rule. Finally, keep it simple. As I've said all the way through this video, I started with it, I've referred to it a number of times, I'm going to finish with it. Nutrition doesn't need to be perfect. No one's nutrition is perfect. I eat chocolate chip cookies almost every day, but the rest of my food is pretty good. And I've done that for years and years on end. Okay, so anyone that looks after themselves in half decent shape and feels good about themselves, they pay attention to this. It's not an accident. Okay, so it needs to be sustainable, needs to be repeatable, and something you can stick to for life. It's no good cutting out something you love forever. It's not going to work. We need to add it in small quantities. Okay, so 80% good choices, 20% flexibility, and that's your recipe for long-term success. And again, I say this at the end of a lot of my videos. You just need to make a start. Stop waiting for the perfect day to make a start to this. Make a start today or tomorrow. Just prepare your breakfast for the morning. That's a start. You don't have to have the rest of the day sorted. Okay? Do a week of getting your breakfast right. Do a month of getting your breakfast right. And then start attacking your lunchtime meal and then evening meal. Even if it takes you a year to get this right. But you need to make a start. Stop waiting for the perfect day. Okay, so I hope this video has clarified a few points to the point where you can at least get started and make a start on your goals. Okay, so if you need anything from me, if you have any questions, please reach out and I will catch up with you soon. Take care.